color.
Oh yeah, teal.
Turquoisey, any
Turquoisey,
of that.
seafoam green, as they called it in the 90s.
Yes.
Remember that?
Oh, I remember.
Yes, the seafoam green. I believe I had Nike sneakers that color.
Did you really?
I did. I had to save up my own money.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes. Teaching our children about money and what it's all about.
And the value of money, right?
Yes.
You want it, you work for it.
That's right.
Right.
And it's not a bad lesson to learn.
No, it's not. It's not a bad lesson at all. Taught me a lot.
We have lessons for you today, and we have free stuff for you
We
today.
have free stuff today, so
there goes the lessons about money shot straight to heck.
out the window. Here we go. And action.
Action! Freebie journals. And these are going to be different than the ones you're accustomed to seeing us give away in the past. Do you want to hold it up?
Oh, yes.
You're going to recognize...
Do you want to see the cover?
Yeah, you're going to recognize that. So that is the colored version. Elizabeth has been in there playing with Posca pens and with watercolor pens. However, with that said, when you receive yours, it'll be white.
Right, so you
option-
definitely want it to look like that.
Yeah.
Right?
You have the option to add color in whatever way, shape, or form you choose. The cool thing about these are a little bit bigger. These are, I think, 5.5 by 8.5.
They're a lot bigger.
Yeah, I think the others were 4 by 6. Now, the big difference is twofold. The first is that these are staple bound, and the others had a wire binding, you know, a spiral wire binding, and the paper was much lighter weight. I want to say that was 65-pound paper. Ooh, sorry. What we have in here instead is 98-pound mixed media weight paper, and that
weighs as much as you.
I wish. And so that's going to give us some options for creating. Now, the other journals are great. There's plenty of things that you can do with them, but we wanted to change things up a little bit. So with these, you get 24 pieces of paper, which is 48 surfaces to work on. Again, with the stapled binding, and it has this flexible cover. And the thing that I'm going to mention when I do my part of the demo is that without the spiral binding, and that was pure luck, I opened to the right page.
Yes.
Without the spiral binding, you can print across, with a gel plate, you can print across the width to do an entire spread if you want. Or, the nice thing is that though this is not watercolor paper, you can watercolor on it. And Elizabeth is going to demo that, and she's done some great, isn't that great? She's done some printing in there too that you do show that in your segment, right? I believe you do.
Yes, I do. But what I wanted to make say about the printing that I did is that I didn't go across the spread. I folded it in half and did one side and then the other, so I could have opposite sort of colors. So you can do that as well. You just fold it and then work, you know, keep the spine at the edge of the gel plate and try to keep the color on.
Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, there you go. So,
shall we go do it?
Yeah, let's go show them how to do
actually,
it.
before we do that.
No, the dates. No.
The lack of dates.
Lack of dates.
We're filming this in, where are we? January.
Where are we?
We have not worked
Sacramento. Where are we? How did I get here?
I know. What day is it?
Yeah, I don't know.
We have no idea when this video is going to go live, and we don't know what the dates are going to be for the freebie. So when this video does go live, if you look down below in the expanded description, you will see the dates, the promotional period during which you will be able to get one or more of these.
And down in that expanded description box are links to all the products we use in this video.
This is correct. Yes, that is true.
So you definitely want to go down in that box.
Yes, you do. Let's go play with paint and stuff.
All right.
All right.
Let's go show them how to do it.
Let's go.
Barb and I are so excited about these new Joggles journals, mixed media journals.
There you go, mixed media journals.
I'm trying to remember what they're called, and I'm getting the stink eye from Barb every time I mess up. This is like take 75. Okay.
Now you're exaggerating.
Mixed media journals.
Yes.
And they're a different format than we've previously had giveaways for, which were the smaller spiral bind ones. These are bigger format, and they have thicker, heavier paper. So I have taken Posca paint pens and a little bit of watercolor to the front of mine. They start out white, and I added color. So the floral is white, but it's a matte white. So you can paint on it. I added watercolor on it, took watercolor beautifully. Posca pen, all kinds of different media. You can add color to the white botanicals that are on the front. Then the other thing that I messed around with while we were working here this week was gel printing. Barb's going to show you how to do that. But I did put some fabulous gel prints right directly into my mixed media journal. Look at that. Those are great colors together. So I did that, but what I wanted to demonstrate today was a little quick watercolor sketch, because I think it's important to note that this paper can handle watercolor. So not all paper, mixed media journal paper can, and this is thick enough, heavy enough that it's not going to curl up, and it takes the watercolor rather nicely. So I've created a quick pen and ink sketch of black-eyed Susans. These are my favorite flowers. And I'm going to show you how to watercolor in your journal. So with watercolor painting, you are going to work from light to dark typically, or carefully apply your darks, because I'm going to start with dark here, because once you put this dark in, there's no putting a lighter color over it. So I have to establish the darks and leave the lighter leaves and leave the flowers unpainted, because the colors are all translucent. They're not opaque, so we can't put yellow over this green.
So you're painting the background now.
I'm painting the background, yeah. I could start with light and work my way to dark, which would probably make more sense, but as long as I leave the light areas without dark paint on them, I'm okay. The sparkle of watercolor comes from the white of the paper. So I do leave little bits of white paper showing through, even in the dark colors, which I wouldn't do in collage because it would be distracting. But in watercolor, it's those white little highlights, little sparkly spots that give your work a special kind of twinkle to it, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I don't paint in everything dark green solid. I leave those little bits. So I leave the light highlights in the darks as well as the lights and the mediums. So I'm using I have a weird brush with me. It's called a cat tongue because it's shaped like a cat tongue. And it's nice because when you can use the tip of it and have a very thin line, or you can apply pressure to it and have a thick line. So, okay. So before I I don't want to bring my dark, I'm talking and not thinking. I don't want to bring that dark green up too high. I want it to get a little lighter up here. So I'm going to just take some water and kind of blend this out. That's another nice thing about watercolor, is that it reactivates with water. So if I come back in here with water, I can even lighten it up. So if I want to lighten this up, I just get a brush with water and no color and come in here and give it a little scrub. And that's what's nice about this paper, is you can work it like that. And you can see that it's lifting up a little bit. And in watercolor painting, the guide is that you should not put more than 3 layers of paint, because you will kill the light and you will kill the spontaneity of it. So yeah, I mean, you don't want to overwork it, if not to worry about pilling the paper, just to worry about, overworking the painting. So yeah, I put a little water on there, grab some of the green paint from here and bring it up there. The brush was clean when I started. So then I'm gonna get a little bit of light and just hit these stems a little. This is sketchy, and this is the, I teach workshops in this, and I keep it very sketchy and loose because we don't want to have really high drawing requirements for beginner students. And frankly, I love this style. I mean, I'm never wanting to create finished artwork in watercolor. I just like doing it in a journal for fun. So here I've got some medium yellow, and I'm just going over without even feeling like I have to stay in the petals. This is just like a wash, I'm not even painting individual petals. I'm just giving it a swipe. And then I'm gonna make a little bit of a brownish yellow. And I'm using Golden's QOR watercolor in the tube. And you squeeze them out into, I'm using a porcelain palette. So I squeeze them out into the palette. The tube lasts forever. Because you just need a little dollop in there, and then I mix in the center. So now I've got a little bit of a darker And this is nickel azo gold, I think. And I'm gonna just pull that into some of the shaded areas. That's a little dark. So again, when that's too dark, I'm gonna come back with a water and no color, and then I can just blend it out and pick it up. But I wanna try hard not to lose my white bright spots when I'm doing that either. So there's a little bit of a wash of the dark. Oh, that's too dark. Okay, so now I've got my yellow in there. I'm gonna let that dry. So I'm not gonna paint the flower heads just yet because watercolor goes where the water is. So if I put dark paint in here and it's still wet there, that dark paint will go into that water and wick. That's the way watercolor works. So if you want a defined crisp line between this and that, you have to wait for this to dry. If you want a soft line between this and that, you do it while it's wet and they bleed together. You see how the green has made its way into here, and I don't mind that. So now I'm gonna get a little bit of a lot of a lighter yellow green because I'm gonna add a little wash to these leaves. And again, I let the darker green dry first because I don't want the dark green to bleed in here. I want these leaves to stay light. So I'm letting the surrounding color dry so that it doesn't wick in with the water of this. So I'm adding a little bit of light to that. Light green. And I can add a little shading, a little. So I'll put a little bit of a slightly darker in there. And then lastly, I'm going to mix up a darker brown for the centers, maybe even a little purple. They are brown, but purple is nice and dark, and it is also yellow's opposite color. So I'll mix a little brown with a little bit of purple. And then, like I said, even though it's a dark center, we do want to leave those little bits of sparkly light. So here's where the tip of the cat tongue comes in, where I'm just on the point here. And even though this is my darkest value, even darker than the dark green, I am leaving those little bits of white. Like that. And I think that's probably it. I can mix a little orange. And maybe add a little bit of something here. I'm careful not to touch that center that I just painted. I'm coming up close to it. I'd hit it there. It's coming. That's kind of nice, the orange. I love orange with green, personally, so bringing this orange in is really nice to me, color palette-wise. And you see I still have my whites. And that's it.
Fantabulous.
And look, the paper is not wrinkled, buckled. We've put a decent amount of water on there. It's holding up. So you can watercolor in your mixed media journal as well as gel print.
Elizabeth has shown you how she did pen and ink sketching and then watercolored that. And I'm coming back and working with a gel plate. We mentioned that this is a staple bound journal. And one of the nice things about this that you could not do with the wire bound journals, because of course it's got that spiral in the center, is print across a spread. So I have a couple of options already done for that, and then I'm going to show you a third. Here, I put an ombre on my plate and I just printed the background. There's no patterning on there. This is just color, and then I added a little sketchy border and some bubbles around the edge. On this one, I put color down. This is Elizabeth's Patterns for Two layering stencil named Lines. So I put the color down, I put the stencil down, and then I put this down, and I pressed to pick up the color through the openings in the stencil. So the third option for that, which I'm going to do, so this is Patterns for Layering Fans, I'm gonna do that with this, is to put the color down, pick the color up with a scrap piece of paper, and then print what remains. So I have a couple of colors of Art Alchemy paint. I've got a sparkle, a Sparks. This is, what is this called? Fairy Wings, and I forget what this is. And there's so much paint on the label that it's kind of hard to read. This is Mermaid Tail. I want to say Mermaid Teal, and that's not exactly right. So I'm going to put a little bit of color out, and I'm just kind of slop it out here. It is what it is. And then I'm going to brayer it, and I'm going to create an ombre with the two colors because I'm on an ombre kick, and I do enjoy that. I like the way that it looks. So this one I'm only going to use 2 colors on. You can use as many as you can actually fit and make work on your plate, so don't feel like you're limited to 2. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in, I just happen to have a 4-inch brayer, and I'm going to start by kind of getting this moving. Now the thing with an ombre, to get a really nice look, you need to run the brayer over it multiple times, and that's what's going to allow you to get that nice blend in the center. All right, I'm going to brayer that off so that I don't build up too much paint. And now I'm going to bring in the fans stencil and place that down. And I have, this is the Yasutomo sketch paper that Elizabeth uses all the time. This is the smooth side, so I'm going to turn this over, and I'm just going to press, and I want to pick up as much of the color. You can see how absorbent this paper is. I want to pick up as much of the color through the openings of the stencil as possible so that that pattern is nice and visible when I print what is under the stencil. And that is kind of the third option that I mentioned. Now, if I don't think that this is going to be enough, that if there's still too much color left, I got a piece of scratch paper off to the side. And yeah, there's a fair amount of paint still in there because I was kind of generous with it. I'm just going to, well, I'm not going to do that now, am I? Because I picked the stencil up. I wasn't even thinking. I'm so habitually I do that.
I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I was going to say, that looks like the stencil is gone.
Yeah, oddly enough it is. So I'm going to place this down. Now remember that this is a little bit bigger than 8 by 10. So I just kind of eyeball it to try to get that frame. And here's the difference. I'm going to press this so that I get good coverage of the stencil. But the thing to bear in mind is this is staple bound with 2 staples. If you yank hard enough, and why do we know this? Because Elizabeth and I have both done it.
We definitely both yanked too hard on
If
this.
you yank too hard on this, not only can you separate some of the pages, but I managed to separate the color, and the cover rather, and that's fixable. So instead, what we're gonna do is turn this over and pick it up this way. And that way there's no pressure on the binding and this just comes off. And so you get this really pretty effect. The sparkle of the paint is there. I've got a background on there. I could use a Posca or a pen to frame around this. I could do lots of different things with this, but this is an easy way to get paint across a spread. I could have folded this in half and only done 1/2 of the spread at a time, but I chose to just cover the whole thing. So because this paper is mixed media paper and it's sturdy, it's 98 pound, it gives you some options for working with it. You are not going to, unless you separate the binding by accident, you're not going to readily tear this paper or anything. It's just going to work. And I can't wait to do something with this because I think that this is fun. So this is the freebie journal that we are giving away.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So that is all the excitement that we have for you with the freebie journal. That's it.
That's
right?
it. Yeah, we had a good time. We hope that you have as much fun playing with these as we did.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.